My name is Eliza Morgan. I'm 31 years old and I live in Portland, Oregon, in a narrow brick townhouse with tall windows that face a quiet street lined with maple trees. I manage event logistics for a luxury hospitality company, weddings, corporate galas, milestone birthdays for people who want everything perfect and don't notice the invisible hands that make it happen. I'm good at what I do. I know how to anticipate needs before they're spoken. I know how to smooth over tension before it becomes visible. I know how to make people feel welcomed. What I didn't know, at least not yet, was how to stop trying to do that for my own family. For 4 years, my parents and I had not sat at the same table. Not Thanksgiving, not Christmas, not even the year I turned 30. There had always been a reason. Flights were expensive, Dad's back was acting up, Mom couldn't leave the house for too long, my sister Rachel needed help with the kids, something always came up. Still, when my mother called one Tuesday evening and said, "We've been talking, and we think it's finally time we visit you," I didn't hesitate. I paid for everything, 2 round-trip tickets from Ohio, seat upgrades so Dad wouldn't complain about his legs, checked luggage, airport transfer, a rental car in case they wanted to explore the city. I told myself it wasn't about money. It was about making it easy for them to say yes. I cleaned my townhouse until it looked staged for a magazine shoot. I replaced the throw pillows. I bought fresh white lilies because my mother once said they made a room feel hopeful. I restocked the pantry with my father's favorite crackers, even though I don't eat them. And every night for a week before their arrival, I stood in my dining room and imagined the 3 of us sitting there, laughing about how long it had been. I set the table for 4, 3 chairs for us, and 1 extra because Rachel had mentioned she might drop by if she could. The morning they landed, I checked my phone before my feet touched the floor. No messages. I texted, "Can't wait to see you both. I'll have dinner ready tonight. Just let me know when you're on the way." The reply didn't come from my father, it came from Rachel. "Hey, just picked them up. They're going to stay with me since it's easier with the kids. We'll coordinate a time to see you." I read the message 3 times. Stay with her? Rachel lived 35 minutes away. 35 minutes suddenly felt like another state. I typed back carefully. "Oh, I thought they were staying here. I've got the guest room ready." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Mom replied this time. "Sweetheart, Rachel has more space and the kids really need time with us. We'll see you soon. Don't make it a big deal. Don't make it a big deal." I stood in my kitchen holding the phone while the coffee machine beeped behind me. 4 years, 35 minutes, and I was supposed to pretend those 2 numbers didn't collide. That evening, I cooked anyway. Pot roast, garlic potatoes, roasted carrots with honey glaze, the lemon cake my father always claimed no one could get right except me. I lit the candles at 6. At 7, I refreshed my messages. At 8, Rachel posted a photo. My parents were on her back patio. My mother had one of the twins on her lap. My father was laughing at something Rachel's husband said. The caption read, "Family time finally, so grateful." I stared at the photo until my eyes blurred. Family time. I looked at my dining table. 4 plates, 4 glasses, 4 neatly folded napkins, 4 empty chairs. At 8:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Mom, long travel day. Let's plan for tomorrow, okay, sweetie?" Tomorrow, I blew out the candles one by one. The smoke curled upwards slowly, like something leaving the room without saying goodbye. I washed dishes that had never been used, and when I went to bed that night, I told myself not to overthink it. People get tired, people choose convenience, people don't mean harm when they hurt you. But as I lay there staring at the ceiling, something else kept whispering quietly beneath those excuses. If they wanted to see you, they would have come. Before I tell you what happened the next morning and what I discovered by accident while scrolling through something I wasn't supposed to see, tell me something. What time is it where you are right now? And where are you watching from? I'm curious how far this story will travel, because at that point, I still believed I was just being sensitive. I didn't yet understand that the real reason they stayed with my sister had nothing to do with space, and everything to do with money. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. For a moment I forgot, then I remembered. They were here, just not here. I reached for my phone and saw Rachel had already posted 3 more photos. Pancakes shaped like cartoon animals. My father tying one of the twins' shoelaces. My mother standing in Rachel's kitchen, wearing an apron I recognized. It used to hang in our house when I was growing up. Seeing it in Rachel's kitchen felt strangely symbolic, like something had been officially relocated. I typed a message before I could second-guess it. Good morning. What time should I expect you today? I'm free all afternoon. I added a smiley face. I don't know why. Habit, maybe. A reflex to make sure I didn't sound demanding. 2 hours passed, then 3. At 11:37 a.m., Mom replied. We promised the kids we'd take them to the zoo. Maybe dinner, maybe. Dinner again. I stared at the word the way you stare at a bruise you don't remember getting. I wrote back. That works. I'll cook. This time I didn't add the emoji. By 6 o'clock, the table was set again. This time, I only placed 3 plates. I told myself it was practical. Rachel and her husband weren't coming, so there was no reason for 4. But when I stepped back and looked at the table, the missing plate felt louder than the others. At 6:12, my phone buzzed. Rachel had posted another photo. They were at a waterfront restaurant downtown. My parents sat across from her and the kids, menus open, wine glasses half full. The caption read, "Spontaneous dinner with my favorite people." Spontaneous. I zoomed in on the photo. My mother looked relaxed. My father looked happy. There was no sign of exhaustion. No hint that they had traveled that morning. At 6:25, my phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Hey, Liz. We ended up grabbing something quick with Rachel and the kids. Didn't want to make everyone drive back and forth. We'll catch you tomorrow, kiddo. Kiddo? I don't know why that word stung the way it did. Maybe because I was the one who paid for the rental car, the one who covered the flights, the one who had spent a week cleaning, cooking, preparing. And somehow, I was still the child expected to wait patiently while the adults made decisions. I sat down at the table alone. I didn't cry. That surprised me. Instead, I felt something else. A slow, steady quiet settling over me. Not anger. Not yet. Just clarity beginning to take shape. I opened my laptop, not to work, to check something. 4 years ago, when Dad's consulting contract slowed down, he had called me one evening sounding unusually vulnerable, just until things stabilize. He'd said, I transferred $1,500 that night, then $800 the next month, then $1,200 when the furnace broke. It had never been dramatic, just small emergencies, responsible daughter stepping in. I opened my banking history and filtered by transfers to my parents. The list kept scrolling. Monthly support labeled temporary, utility help, insurance gap, short on mortgage this month, prescription adjustment, Rachel's daycare emergency. I paused at that one, Rachel's daycare emergency. That had been 2 years ago. Why was I paying for my sister's childcare? I clicked further back. The total number didn't appear instantly. I had to calculate it manually. When I finally added it all together, I leaned back in my chair and stared at the screen. $48,320, not including flights, not including this week's groceries, not including the rental car sitting in Rachel's driveway. $48,000, and they were 35 minutes away, choosing not to come. I closed the laptop slowly, then my phone rang. It was Rachel. I hesitated before answering. Hey, she said brightly. Mom told me you seemed a little tense. Tense? That's not the word I'd use, I replied. She laughed lightly, like I'd made a joke. Liz, you know how it is. The kids are excited. It's just easier if they're here. I'm 35 minutes away. Yeah, but traffic, you know? There it was. Minimizing. Redirecting. Soft dismissal wrapped in practicality. I asked quietly, did Mom and Dad ask to stay with you? There was a pause. They just thought it made sense. That wasn't my question. Another pause, then she said something that changed the temperature of the entire week. Look, Liz, you know they're more comfortable here. Comfortable. I swallowed. More comfortable how? With us. With the kids. With everything. Everything. I let the silence stretch long enough for her to feel it, then she added, softer now. They just don't want things to be complicated. The word lingered between us. I thought about the transfers, the quiet financial support, the way my parents always called me independent like it was praise. I thought about Rachel moving into a bigger house last year, the new SUV, the beach vacation she posted about every summer. I had never asked how they afforded it. I didn't need to, I already knew. After I hung up, I stood in my dining room again, 3 plates, 3 empty chairs. The house felt staged now, not welcoming, just waiting. At 9:03 p.m., my mother texted, "Sweetie, don't overthink things. We love you. We'll plan something special before we leave." Before we leave, they had been in town for 2 days, and I was already scheduled for before we leave. That was the moment something inside me shifted from hopeful to observant. I went back to my laptop. This time, I didn't just look at transfers. I opened my shared family group chat history, scrolled back, screenshots, dates, conversations, and then I saw something I hadn't noticed before. 3 months ago, Rachel had sent a message. "Mortgage is tight again. We might need help." My mother had replied, "Don't worry. Eliza always steps up." Always. I stared at that sentence until it felt like it wasn't written about a person. It was written about a resource. Before I tell you what I decided to do on the 3rd night and the message I drafted but didn't send yet, I need you to think about something. If you found out your family described you as the one who always steps up, would it feel like love or expectation? That night, I didn't light the candles. I didn't cook. I ordered takeout and ate it straight from the container while sitting on the floor beside the coffee table. No plates, no performance, just quiet. Around 8:15 p.m., Rachel posted again. This time it wasn't a restaurant or the zoo. It was my parents sitting on her living room couch, watching a movie with the twins curled against them. The caption read, "Cozy nights are the best nights." I stared at the image longer than I meant to. Cozy. I tried to remember the last time my living room had looked like that, the last time my parents had sat on my couch. The answer was easy. Never. They had never visited this townhouse, never seen the way the late afternoon light hits the staircase, never walked past the framed photos I kept on the hallway wall. I had always gone to them, always adjusted, always fit myself into their schedule. I muted the family group chat. Then I opened my laptop again. This time, I wasn't looking for numbers. I was looking for patterns. I scrolled through 4 years of conversations. The language was subtle. "Can you help just this once?" Temporary gap. "Until Rachel gets back on her feet." "Your father is embarrassed to ask." "You're the strong one." Strong, independent, reliable. Words that sound like compliments until you realize they're permissions. Permissions not to show up for you, permissions to prioritize someone else. I clicked into my email next. Search. Mortgage. There were attachments I hadn't opened carefully before. Screenshots of balances, partial statements, requests phrased as updates. I noticed something else. The dates of my transfers lined up almost perfectly with Rachel's major expenses. The year she renovated her kitchen, the summer she went to Florida, the month she posted about enrolling the twins in a private preschool. I sat back slowly. I wasn't funding emergencies. I was funding comfort, just not mine. At 9:02 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Dad, hey Liz, you okay? Your mom says you've been quiet." "Quiet? I've been busy," I said. "You know we'll get to you," he added, like I was a stop on a delivery route. "Get to me?" I asked carefully. "Why didn't you stay here?" There was a pause long enough for me to hear him inhale. "Rachel has the kids. It just makes sense." "That's not what I asked." Another pause. "Don't start, kiddo." That phrase again. Don't start. As if asking for presents was escalating something unreasonable. I looked around my living room, the freshly washed throw blankets, the flowers I had bought, the second set of towels folded in the guest bathroom. I had prepared for them like you prepare for people who matter, and they had chosen convenience. Or maybe something else. "Dad," I said quietly, "if I hadn't paid for the flights, would you have come?" Silence. Real silence this time. He didn't answer the question. Instead, he said, You know we appreciate everything you do. Appreciate. I almost smiled. Appreciation without change is just polite consumption. Do you? I asked. Of course. Then why does it feel like I'm the only one adjusting? He sighed. Eliza, you're making this emotional. I closed my eyes briefly. Making this emotional. Because expecting your parents to show up isn't emotional, it's inconvenient. After we hung up, I sat still for a long time. Then I did something I had never done before. I opened a blank spreadsheet. At the top, I typed, family support full record. I entered every transfer from the last 4 years, dates, amounts, notes. When I finished, I stared at the total again, $48,320. I added another column, reason provided, then another, actual outcome. The discrepancies were almost elegant. Mortgage shortfall, Rachel's vacation month, utility emergency kitchen remodel deposit, prescription increase, SUV down payment. I wasn't guessing, the timelines aligned too cleanly. Around midnight, I stood up and walked to the dining room. The table was still set from 2 nights ago. 3 plates, I removed 2 of them, left 1, just mine. I didn't do it dramatically. I didn't cry. I just cleared space. At 12:17 a.m., I drafted an email. Subject, clarity. Mom and Dad, I need to understand something clearly. Over the past 4 years, I have provided financial support totaling $48,320 based on the understanding that it was necessary for stability. Seeing how this week has unfolded, I realize I may have misunderstood my role in this family. Before I continue contributing in any way, I need transparency regarding where that money has actually gone. I stopped typing. My hands weren't shaking, that was new. Instead, there was a calmness I didn't fully recognize. Not anger, precision. I didn't send the email, not yet, because something told me the 3rd day would reveal more than any spreadsheet could, and I was right. The 3rd day was the first time they came to my house, but not for dinner, and not for the reason you might think. They came on the 3rd afternoon, not at 6, not for dinner. At 2:14 p.m. I know the exact time because I had just finished a client call and was standing in my kitchen reheating coffee when the doorbell rang. For half a second, my heart lifted, then I checked the security camera on my phone. It was my parents, and Rachel, all 3 standing on my porch, no overnight bags, no smiles. My mother was holding her purse tightly against her chest. My father had that look he gets when he believes he's about to settle something efficiently. Rachel looked irritated. Not guilty. I opened the door. Hi, I said evenly. My mother stepped forward and kissed my cheek like we were arriving at church. Sweetheart. Dad walked past me without waiting to be invited inside. Rachel followed. I closed the door slowly. The living room felt smaller with them in it. My father glanced around briefly. Nice place, he said, as if he were evaluating a rental. You've never seen it before, I replied. He didn't respond. Rachel didn't sit. She stood near the doorway like this was a quick errand. Mom perched on the edge of the couch. I remained standing. So, my father began, clasping his hands together. Your sister mentioned you've been asking questions. Questions? I folded my arms lightly. Yes. About money, Rachel added, her tone already defensive. About clarity, I corrected. My mother gave a small sigh. Eliza, we didn't come here to argue. I almost laughed. You didn't come here for dinner either. The room shifted. My father cleared his throat. Let's not dramatize. Dramatize? That word again. He looked at me the way he used to when I challenged something as a teenager. Calm, firm, slightly disappointed. We are a family. Families help each other. I agree, I said. Then I don't understand the spreadsheet. There it was, the word hung in the air. Spreadsheet? Rachel's eyes flicked to me sharply. You showed them? She asked Mom. My mother avoided her gaze. I mentioned it. She said carefully. I felt something click quietly into place. They hadn't come to see me. They had come to manage a threat. I walked to the dining table and picked up my laptop. I turned it toward them. The spreadsheet was still open, columns neat, dates precise, totals undeniable. I just wanted to make sure I understood what I've been contributing to. I said. Rachel stepped closer. You're acting like we stole from you. I didn't say that. But you're implying it. I met her eyes. I'm asking where the money went. My father's jaw tightened. It went where it needed to go. That's not specific. His voice hardened slightly. Your mother and I have expenses. Rachel has responsibilities. You make good money. You live alone. You don't have children. There it was. The hierarchy, married with kids, single and stable. I asked quietly. So that means I owe more? Rachel let out a breath. No one said you owe. But you've always understood that we're a unit. A unit? I looked at her. Then why does it feel like I'm the backup account? Silence. Mom reached for my hand. Sweetheart, you know we love you. Love. I gently pulled my hand back. I'm not questioning love. I'm questioning behavior. Rachel crossed her arms. You're overthinking this because we stayed at my house. No, I said calmly. I'm thinking clearly because you did. Dad stepped forward slightly. We stayed there because it was easier. For who? I asked. For everyone. I'm part of everyone. That landed. Not loudly, but solidly. Rachel's voice sharpened. You're making this about you. It is about me, I said. You're in my house. That was the first moment my father looked directly at me instead of through me. Eliza, he said, lowering his voice. You've always been independent, strong. We never had to worry about you. I nodded slowly, and because of that, you didn't show up. That's not fair, isn't it? I turned the laptop slightly so the total was visible again. $48,000. Rachel's face flushed. You're counting? Yes. You never said it was a loan. I never said it was a gift either. That was the moment the air shifted from uncomfortable to tense. My mother's voice trembled slightly. We thought you wanted to help. I did. Then why does it matter now? Because you're 35 minutes away and haven't had dinner with me once. I didn't say it that way. I said, because help without respect becomes expectation. Rachel laughed under her breath. Respect? We're your family. Exactly. Silence. Then my father said something that made the entire week rearrange itself. We assumed you understood that Rachel needs us more. Understood? Needs. More. I felt the words settle in my chest, not as pain, as confirmation. So, I said carefully, you're saying you prioritized her because she needs you? Yes, Mom whispered. And you prioritized her because she needs you? I repeated slowly. Rachel shifted uncomfortably, and because she needs you. I continued, you assumed I would keep covering whatever gap was left. That's not what we said. Dad snapped. It's what happened. No one spoke. The house felt incredibly quiet. Then Rachel said, sharper now, you live comfortably, Liz. You have savings. You travel. You don't struggle like we do. Struggle. I looked at her. You went to Florida in July. She blinked. That was planned. So was my birthday. The room froze. My mother looked down. My father inhaled slowly. Rachel's lips parted, then closed. I stepped back from the table. I paid for this trip because I wanted to see you. All of you. After 4 years. You chose to stay with her. You chose to eat with her. You chose to build memories there. And you assumed I would just wait. My voice didn't crack. That surprised me most. Dad tried to regain control. We are here now. Yes, I said. Because of the spreadsheet. Silence again. That was the first honest silence of the week. Before I tell you what my mother said next and why it was the sentence that changed everything, I want you to think about something. If your family only showed up after the money was counted, would you still call it love? They didn't yell. That surprised me. There were no slammed doors, no dramatic accusations, no plates thrown against walls, just something quieter, panic trying to stay polite. My mother was the first to speak. Eliza, maybe we're rushing this. I'm not, I replied. Dad shifted his weight, recalibrating. We can talk about adjusting the amount, he said carefully. It doesn't have to stop entirely. Adjusting? Like a subscription plan. Rachel stepped forward, voice tighter now. You know what this will do to us. I looked at her. What has it been doing to me? She didn't answer. Instead, she said, we budgeted around that support. There it was. Budgeted, around it. not grateful for it, not careful with it, structured around it. My mother's hands trembled slightly in her lap. Your father's mortgage payment is due in 3 weeks. I'm aware, I said. Dad's jaw tightened. You're being cold. I almost smiled at that. Cold, because calm feels cold to people who benefited from your warmth. No, I said quietly. I'm being clear. Rachel crossed her arms again. So what? That's it. 4 years of helping and suddenly we're cut off because we stayed at my house? I held her gaze. It's not because you stayed at your house. Then why? Because you stayed at your house, I repeated softly, and assumed I would stay in my role. The room fell silent. Dad tried one more angle. We raised you. Yes, we sacrificed. I know. And this is how you repay us. That sentence landed exactly the way he intended it to. Heavy, loaded, designed to trigger guilt. For years, it would have. But something about standing in my own living room, in a house they had never visited until money was questioned, made it impossible to shrink. I repaid you, I said calmly. $48,000. Rachel flinched at the number. Mom looked down. Dad inhaled slowly. That wasn't a debt, he muttered. It wasn't a gift either. Silence, the kind that hums in your ears. Finally, my mother stood. Her voice was smaller now. We should go. Rachel looked like she wanted to argue more. Dad looked like he wanted to regain authority. But neither did. They walked toward the door. At the threshold, my mother turned back. Dinner tomorrow? She asked softly, not demanding, not defensive, almost hopeful. I thought about the candles, the empty plates, the waiting, and I answered honestly, I'm not available tomorrow. She blinked, as if that had never occurred to her before. Not available. Dad's expression shifted, something between disbelief and realization. Rachel looked irritated, but no one argued. They stepped outside. I closed the door gently, not dramatically, just closed it. The first call came 37 minutes later. Rachel, I let it ring, then my mother, then my father, then Rachel again. I placed my phone face down on the coffee table and sat still. For 4 years, I had answered immediately, every emergency, every request, every "can you just." This time, I let silence answer for me. At 6:42 p.m., my father texted, we need to discuss this like adults. I read it twice. Like adults, as if I hadn't been the most adult person in this dynamic for years. At 7:10 p.m., my mother sent, your sister is very upset. At 7:14, your father is stressed. At 7:16, we didn't expect this. That one almost made me laugh. You didn't expect this. Neither did I. At 7:30, Rachel finally sent a message that stripped away the softness. You're being selfish. There it was. The word people use when your sacrifice stops arriving on schedule. I typed back carefully, I set the table for you twice. She responded instantly, this isn't about dinner. I stared at the screen. It is, I replied. She didn't answer. That night, I didn't light candles. I didn't cook. I went out. Olivia, my closest friend in Portland, had been texting me all week asking how the visit was going. I hadn't told her everything, not yet, but when I called and said, can you meet me for dinner? She didn't hesitate. We sat at a small jazz bar downtown, low lights, warm food, actual laughter from surrounding tables. Halfway through the meal, my phone buzzed again. Dad, I silenced it. Olivia watched me carefully. Are you okay? She asked. I took a breath. I think so. Did they finally come over? Yes. And I hesitated. Then I said it plainly. I told them I'm not sending money anymore. Olivia didn't look shocked. She looked relieved. About time. I stared at my plate. They think I'm punishing them. She leaned back in her chair. Are you? I thought about it. No, I said slowly. I think I'm done auditioning. She smiled slightly. That's not punishment. That's boundaries. Boundaries. The word felt heavier than revenge. Revenge is loud. Boundaries are quiet. Later that night, when I got home, there was one final text waiting, from my father. If you do this, don't expect things to be the same. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back 4 words. They already weren't. I placed my phone down. The house felt different, not emptier, clearer, for the first time all week. I walked into the dining room and didn't feel like I was waiting for someone. I felt like I was home. Before I tell you what happened the next morning, the voicemail my father left that changed the entire tone of the situation, I want you to think about something. When someone threatens that things won't be the same after you set a boundary, is that a warning? Or confirmation that something was wrong all along?